Welcome back, techies, to another episode of Technically Something, the show where we talk about technology, creativity, tutorials, and gaming. I'm your host, Kevin Allen, and in this episode, I'm going to be teaching you how to use Adobe Illustrator by getting started with the Shapes, Pen tool, and Pathfinder to trace a character that you've seen on TV. Let's get straight to it. Getting to know Illustrator isn't a quick process. It takes repetition and exploration before you gain some sense of familiarity. Part of getting better with a program is using it in projects that you actually enjoy. So, in this instance, I'm going to recreate a character that I've seen on TV. Now, if there's a character out there that you want to recreate, it can be from anywhere. So long as you can get a picture of it on the internet and onto your computer, you're good to go. Now again, we're going to be using the Pen tool, Shapes, and Pathfinder just because we want to start off on a simple note. So, what I would suggest if you're trying this yourself is to keep yourself limited to those three tools. That way you become more familiarized with them. When I get to my computer, I might be doing a few things with the Pathfinder, the Pen tool, and Shapes that may need some more explanation. I'm going to do my absolute best to explain those as I go, but honestly, the best practice you can get is using them yourself and understanding how they feel. There's no better teacher than experience. Without further ado, let's get into the project. Alright techies, the first thing that we're going to do is find our reference image. So again, this can be any cartoon, any character you want. I do suggest if you are brand new to Illustrator, finding a simpler character to start with, but still challenge yourself. So if you're brand new and you want a really big challenge, you could try something that's maybe like an anime character with lots of detail, but I do heavily suggest something a little bit more cartoony and simple. So I'm a huge fan of Gumball because I think it's hilarious and the animation style is so cool. So I'm gonna go and find me a picture of Gumball. Alright, I think this one is perfect. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to copy image. And now we'll go into Illustrator. It opened on my other screen. I'm just gonna scoot that over here now. Okay. When creating a brand new document, I'd say that a good standard size to work with is 8.5 by 11. Just because that's the sheet of paper. If you want to print it off, it's fine, it's to size. And remember, if you're making vector files, everything's going to be sharp no matter what, so you can resize without anything getting pixelated. But still, 8.5 by 11, and I'm going to create that. When the new document pops up, since we already copied our image, we can just click on the screen and hit Control-V to paste. And even if you get something weird that's checkerboarded like this, it's okay. This is just an image for our reference. It doesn't have to be perfect. But I'm going to direct your attention to a spot on the side here. So over here, you're going to have all of these different windows. Your workspace may look different than mine, but what we're going to look for is the layers. You can access this by going up to Window and scrolling down until you get to Layers and click. On the side you're going to see it says Layer 1, and this is where our image is. So we can double click Layer 1 and we can call it Ref for reference. Before we do anything else, I'm going to click on this picture. So click anywhere on your picture, and now I'm going to go back to Window. I'm going to look for Transparency. So we go all the way down and click on Transparency. And again, Transparency appears on the side. And this part that says Opacity, we're going to click and drag this down to about 20% or so. There, and this will make the image semi-transparent, or very transparent, that just depends on how you look at it. Now we can go back to Layer, which I happen to have here still, and I'm going to lock this layer. Now, it doesn't really show you a place to do that, but you can click right here. Now there's no way for us to interact with this layer. I can try and draw on it, I can do anything, but this icon will appear saying,
No draw for you. No pencil. No, no, no.
So I'm going to create a new layer above our reference layer. Go down to the bottom, click on Create New Layer. Kind of looks like a new paper icon. And that will create layer 2 above the layer where we were before, which was our reference. Now we can call this our line layer. And this is where we get to it. So that was just layer organization. But now I'm going to get the pen tool. The shortcut for the pen tool is P on your keyboard. So if you just click P, that'll bring you to your pen. And the pen can be a little bit funky because it's a point-to-point tool. So I'm going to start on the cheek here. So when I click, I create a point. And you'll notice that when you drag out, it shows you a preview of where your next point will go. And if I click, it creates a line, and then I can move on to the next part. However, we want to curve that line. We don't want it to necessarily be straight in this instance. So I'm going to hit Control Z. And now I'm going to go back and click where I did before. However, and this is the part that you need to pay attention to, is I'm not going to let go. I'm going to click and drag. And now I get a new option showing a curve. So as I curve this, I'll get it to where I want and let go. And now we have a curved line and it filled in with white. And that's because we have a white fill and no outline. But up here, you can always click Default, Fill and Stroke, which is a white fill, black outline, and it'll do just that. And if you don't want the white covering up your character as you trace, simply make sure that the white is up front by clicking it and hit this red slash for none. Now we can just do lines. So I'll go to the next part, click, and drag. And it'll curve. And you'll notice now that when I pull away, the line isn't going straight anymore, it's curving just a little bit. And that's because of these 2 points here, these 2 anchors. When I pulled, I left a curve going after it was done. And I'll show you how to cancel that out in just 1 sec. So I'll go down here, click and drag, and let go. Now say I wanted to go down here along the side of Gumball's body. I can't do that right now because if I click, the curve is way far off. So if I hit Control Z, the way that you can correct this is by just clicking on the last point one more time. And you'll notice as you hover over it, you get this point icon to show up next to the pen. That means that you're going to break the curve. And now, when we click on the next point, you can make a new curve. And again, I'm going to have to do it right around the lower part of his waist, so I'm going to click on the same point, make my new curve, and that's a little too forward, here we go. Make my new curve, and go all the way around until I reach this point here. And now I have to go straight back up. So, if I were to click right now, it's a weird curve. I don't want that. So I'm going to click on the last point, go up with my new curve, cancel, and we're almost there. Add a slight curve here. And now, when we come back, in order for you to complete a shape, you have to click on the point where you first started. So I've made my way around this shape. I'm going to click on the last point and see how when I hover over this, it shows a circle. That means that you're completing the shape, or in this case, you're completing the path. So I'll click that. I'm going to click on my mouse pointer. The hotkey for that is V for Victor, or you could hold Control. But now if I click on this, we have all of those points lighting up, and now I can go in and choose a fill. So after double clicking our empty fill, I go up, I use my slider to select a hue and choose a color, and that'll fill it in. However, I can't see what I'm doing now because the character's down there, right? So one other method you could do at this point is go back to your layers and drag your reference layer above the line layer. And now you'll be able to see it, but remember it's locked. So we won't actually interact with it. We'll just be interacting with our line layer. So I'm gonna go back and I'm going to go through and draw these shapes. This part will be sped up for you so that you don't have to sit here for a while. But check out what I do. I'm using those same techniques I just showed you, using curves and ending points to create new hard corners and edges. I'll see you in just a sec. Alright, so I made the outlines of all the basic shapes of Gumball's body. I will get to the details in just a sec, but the next part I want to teach you is organizing your layers. So there's two ways that we talk about layers. One is in the Layers tab and the main layer that we're working on, okay? So within my line layer, I can organize all of these shapes. And all of these shapes are kind of their own layers in a way. So it's layers within layers. It's layerception. But I want some of these shapes to be behind others. So what I'm gonna do is select the leg, and I can right click, go to Arrange, and I can either say bring to front, bring forward, send backward, send to back. Bring to front means bring all the way to the front. Bring forward means just bring one level forward. Send backward, send one layer back. And then send to back means send all the way back. Also, you'll notice these shortcuts along the side. This is what I use, okay? So Shift, Control, right bracket, Control right bracket, Control left bracket, Shift Control left bracket. So that's what I'm going to use, but I'll verbally tell you what I'm doing as I go. So I'm going to click on the leg, and I'm going to hit Control Shift left bracket to send all the way to the back. And I'm going to do the same thing for all of these pieces that should be at the back. Control Shift left bracket, Control Shift left bracket. I can do this for multiple as well. So if I want to select multiple shapes, I just click one, hold Shift, and click the other. And I can send those back. Control Shift left bracket. Now I just need to send these ears. Now if I do Control Shift left bracket, it sends it behind the head, but now we have the arm floating in front of this ear. So I can click on this ear and just hit Control right bracket to bring it forward, and then one more time, and now it's in front of the ear. Likewise, I could have clicked on the arm and hit Control Send Back, or all the way back, but now all of our shapes are organized the way that they should be. And this is how you can organize shapes as you go within a layer. So I hope that's not too confusing, but the more you use it, the more it'll make sense. Now, I'm gonna get to some details. I'll see you in one sec. Okay, so I have just a few details, but then I realized we have to talk about the Pathfinder. This is going to be really hard to summarize because the Pathfinder is one of those tools that you need to use a lot to understand. At least to understand at a level where you're comfortable. Now, if you get it right off the bat, awesome. Kudos to you. Okay, so the way this works, I'm gonna zoom in, and I did that by pressing Z on my keyboard and then dragging in closer. The Pathfinder is kind of like a glorified cookie cutter. I can take a shape. In this instance, I'm going to draw out the tooth, and I'm going to go outside the mouth. Now, you would think, okay, hey, I want that to match up exactly to the line that is going around the edge of the mouth. Well, that can be a pain in the butt if you're trying to draw it yourself and match it exactly, especially if there's curves involved, because it's hard to get the exact same curve. Plus, you're working too hard. You could just let the Pathfinder do it for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the mouth, so Control C after I select it, and now I'm going to select the tooth as well. So I'm going to hold Shift and click on the tooth. So now both shapes are selected. Earlier, remember how we were making shapes and they were stacking on top of each other? That automatically happens whenever you create a new shape. It should technically go one layer above the rest. So the tooth is sitting on top of the mouth. Now if I go to my Pathfinder, and again, if you don't see it on your screen, you can go to Window and click on Pathfinder. Now that this appears, it shows you all of these different boxes overlapping and what is happening when you click on them. So this first one is called Unite, second is minus front, and then this one is intersect, so on and so forth. But either way, it's showing what happens with the Pathfinder when you do this with two shapes. So I have the tooth on top, but I want it to match the line. So what I'm going to click on is actually divide. Now when I click on this, it doesn't look like anything happened, which is annoying, but something did happen. What happened is it actually divided all of this up. It just grouped it. So I'm going to ungroup, and now you'll see that it divided the piece that was outside of that shape. It also cut into the mouth a little bit. So that's one approach. Another approach, while these are separated, we could also do intersect. And what happens with that is it takes all of the outside information and whatever is looping on the inside of both becomes the only things that is left. Now, if you remember, I copied the mouth before we did that. So it ended up deleting the mouth. But since I copied it, I can hit Control F and paste it right where it was. So now I have these two shapes. Now I'm going to do this again with the other tooth. First I draw it with the pen tool. And you don't have to be clean about the edge of the mouth. You just finish it. Click on the tooth. Click on the mouth. And I already copied it before. Nothing has changed. So I'm going to intersect and Control F. And then we'll do this one more time. And you can do this as many times as you need. That's the beauty of the Pathfinder, is it's quick, it's efficient, and you don't really have to do a whole lot of work trying to match things up. And now I can just draw a line connecting from the nose down to the bottom of the lips. Now, if you don't want to complete a shape, that's okay. You don't have to complete a shape with the pen tool. If you just want to make a custom line, you can do that, but you'll want to hold Control to switch over to the mouse and click off of it. And now it's done. So the last thing that I'll do here is use the oval tool, which is right beneath the pen. And if you click and hold this, like most tools, there's actually going to be several options. So I'm already on the ellipse, which is what I need to create an oval. So I'll draw an oval out that looks close to the tongue, and I might have to rotate it. So if you look closely at my mouse, if I hover on the outside corner, just a little bit outside of it, a rotation icon comes up. I can click and hold and drag to rotate, and then reposition with the mouse. So get it exactly where we like it. And that's pretty close. So now I'll click on the mouth, intersect, and then paste the mouth one more time. And we have all those details. So if I go to my layers and I hide the reference, that's what we have so far. It'll look better when we start filling in colors. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to click on the shape and fill in a color. I'll do the same thing over here. And if you want to be fast and replicate what you've done there, just hit I to get your eyedropper. And with that shape selected, you can hit the other tooth, and it will take all of the qualities of that shape and give it to the other shape that you had selected. Okay, so if you fill in a color, because the mouth is the last thing that we pasted, it's on top. So don't freak out. Don't think, oh my god, I just deleted everything I did. You didn't. It's just that it's on top of all of the other shapes. So we can hit Control and left bracket and just keep clicking it until it's in the correct order. And now I can change the color. And already, if I zoom out, it's getting there. It's starting to look like the character. So use the Pathfinder, see everything that you can do with it. There are, just for a few quick examples, you can draw out a shape and another shape on top of it, and use these two to explore how Pathfinder works. Just have it open and click the first one. Ah, it put them together. So Control Z. Now I'm going to try the second one, which is minus front. Oh, it took the front away from the back. That makes sense. And then we already know what intersect does. Wherever they intersect is all that will be left. If we do exclude, it does the opposite of intersect. So on and so forth. Go through all of these. They all have their own unique qualities and abilities that can streamline your Illustrator work and make it so much faster and cleaner. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get back to work and get this done fast so you can see how it all turns out. See you in 1 sec. Okay, so the next part here is a lot of finishing stuff, so a lot of details like line weights and making sure that all the colors are right. So what I'm going to do for this, because remember, if I'm trying to use the eyedropper, it gets a little bit messy because technically our transparent reference is on top, so it will always reference that. So I'm going to bring this back down to the bottom, and I'm going to unlock it and drag it up here and shrink it because it doesn't necessarily need to be the same size anymore. And I'm going to go back to my opacity or transparency. Remember, you can always access this by going to transparency under your window option, or if it's already on your screen somewhere, you can use it there. But I'm going to bring the opacity back up to 100. And now I can use that as my color guide with the eyedropper. I just have to click on the shapes and then eyedropper. Select everything, hit Control-Shift-G. Okay, now everything is ungrouped. So now I'm going to click on all of the parts of Gumball that I know are his particular brand of blue fur. And while I'm clicking these, I'm holding Shift. All right, so I have those. Now I'm going to click on with my keyboard to get the eyedropper. And I'll just click on the actual reference of Gumball. I'm going to select all the parts that are that light color of his shirt. And now with the eyedropper, I'm going to hold Shift when I click. So that's going to tell the eyedropper, only apply this to the fill and nothing else. Don't worry about the outline. All right, so I'm gonna go through and grab all of the other shapes and get those colored in really fast. So we have all of these colors now, but what about these little parts here? What's going on there? So what happened is while I was drawing, these were with the pen tool to get that curve, but I still told it to have a fill. So if these appear, it just means that the pen tool is connecting A to B, where you started and where you ended together with a fill. So if you don't want that, just click the shape, make sure your fill is selected, and hit none. So I'm going to go through and apply that to all of these. All right, now the very last thing is line thickness or stroke thickness. So we can see on our example here that Gumball's eyebrows and actually most of the lines are pretty thick, but his eyebrows are much thicker than the rest of the lines. So I'm going to show you how to do that. You'll click on both eyebrows. You will go to your window and select stroke. So if it appears on the side here, make sure that you click to show options. Mine are already showing, so it says hide. But now with the options showing, we can actually increase the stroke. So I'm going to try 5. All right, that's thicker, but not thick enough. So I'm going to try 10. A little bit more, not much. Okay. Now the next part is that they come to that abrupt stop. They have those hard corner edges. So under the options that we showed below, you can click on the second option here for round cap, which means a round end on either side of the line. And now you have those rounded edges, just like on our reference. Now with the rest of the lines, here's a cool way to change all of them at once without the eyebrows. I'm going to click both of the eyebrows one more time, and now I'm going to hold Shift and click and drag over every single shape and let go. And see, what happened there is it selected every shape, but since I was holding Shift, it deselected the eyebrows. You could of course do this backwards. You could select every shape and then hold Shift and click the eyebrows one by one and they'll deselect, but it's up to you. So now we have everything else selected. So I'm going to try 5. That's a bit too thick, so let's try 3. I'd say that's about it. But see, again, we have a lot of those hard corners and hard edges. So I'm going to cap all of the lines with round edges. And also here on corner, I want to round the corners because that'll make it a little bit softer. And there you have it. Wait. Almost forgot a color. So what we did is use the pen tool, the Pathfinder, and also the shape, the ellipse tool, to create a few circles. We also went over stroke width and how to affect that, and also using the eyedropper to choose specific colors. And at the very beginning of the video, we even got a bonus of organizing your layers and how to organize your shapes on top or below by sending them forward or back. And there you have it. One character trace using the pen tool, Pathfinder, shapes, layering techniques, stroke, the list goes on. You were here, you watched the video. But what character did you decide to trace? Comment down below and let me know how it went. If you have any questions or anything that you'd like me to cover in future videos, also let me know down below. Make sure to like the video, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe. We do stuff like this all the time. Have fun with your own character trace. I'm Kevin Allen, and this was Technically Something. See you guys later.